This is Gemara Sanhedrin Daf Yod. Today's learning of Freilich and Chanukah should be an incredible schos refuah shalema for a tinok ben Miriam Ahuva b'siyata d'shmaya, the incredible koyach ha'tayra menorah tayra zuayra mirza Hashem should bring tinok ben Miriam Ahuva a complete refuah shalema. So for the last two words on Testament Beis, Amar Rava, continuing the topic that we began at the end of the previous year, which is the topic of Pliny Ravani, which is the topic of, unfortunately, someone forcing another man to have relations, etc. So says the Gemara teaches Rava as we turn over to Yud Amid Aleph. Baruch atah Adonai Yelinu melech haolam. Pliny Ba'al Ishti. Rava teaches that Pliny was together with his wife. Hu ve'acher mitzarfin la'argoy. Says the Mishnah, and again the issue over here is obviously zinos. Says the Gemara, Hu ve'acher mitzarfin la'archer. He and another witness can testify against the one who was mizaneh la'argoy, that'll be chayav misa, avaloi la'arga, but not to kill her. Why? Says the Tab Rashi, l'fi shekaroiv hu etzla, because he, the husband, is a karoiv, of course, to his wife. And therefore his testimony cannot and will not suffice in order to incriminate her. Says the Gemara, what's the chiddush in Balginan Dibura, as we ended off the previous year, that we can split his words. That in as much as we can't say that he's not going to klape his wife, he still can have an emanus klape the man. Says the Gemara, Hainu hach, let's mamish our previous case. Explains the Gemara, I would have thought 4 lines down. I would have thought a person is related to himself, Amrina, but Eitzel Ishtai, Loy Amrina. Maybe we don't say a person is related and cannot testify klapi his wife, Kamash Malan, that even there we do, and we'll still say Balginan Dibure. Continues the Gemara, V'amar Rava, says Rava, Polaini Ba'al Naira Hamurasa. Someone gives edus that a certain person had relations with a woman who already was an arusa, she was engaged, she performed the irisin. And of course, such a sin, such an avira would result in misa, v'huzmu, and the edim are created into being edim zaymimim, the haragin. The edim are killed, but the edim mishalmin mama, they do not have to pay any money. B'itel shal plaini, someone gives testimony about the daughter of such and such person. V'huzmu, naragin, ume shalmin. In such a scenario, then it would be both, that the arusa would have been killed and she would not get her ksuba, and therefore the edim would get the same punishment. Says the Gemara, because again, mama in lezeh, because mama lezeh and fash lezeh, we split the 2 in half. V'amar Rava, and Rava continues a very similar halacha. 10 lines down, the first line is lozeh. V'amar Rava, Pliny Rava Hashar. Someone gives edus that a person had relations with an ox, and again, that also is a chiyami savahozmu. Neragin v'mishalman mammon, but sherish al Pliny v'ozmu then ragin v'mishalman mammon lazeh unefashais lazeh. So says the Gemara, the obvious kasha asu lamali. The second case of the Pliny Ravani, the Pliny Rava Sashar is the same thing as our after the previous case. Hainu hach. Says the Gemara, you know why? Because there was a shaila that was asked on the second case of Sherish Pliny Rava Hashar. What was the question? Rava asked, Pliny Rava Shairi Mao. If someone testifies that someone had relations with his ox, what's the halacha? Is one's own ox considered at some level related to him, or are you allowed to give testimony klap at your animal? But no, it's considered related, it's your money. But it's not considered that you're a karv, and therefore there's no psul of such edus. Makos b'shleisha, we're at the 2 dots. A third of the way down the Amud, says the Gemara, the Mishnah taught us that Makos is such in which the punishment will be judged by a bezdin of 3. Says the Gemara, Minani Mili, where do we know this from? Amar Avona, Amar Krav, Vishavtum Shnayim, Vein Bezdin Shakel. You judge them is with two. You add an extra person, Regan Shleisha. Elameate asked the Gemara, Vitziku Shnayim, Vershu Shnayim. Ask the Gemara, the Pasuk teaches Vitziku, that you need Shnayim, you need two. Vershiu, and you need two. So to say someone's Zaka, you need two. Say someone's Chayiv, you need two. Harikan Sheva. So it sounds like another two, plus our original three. You have seven dayanim, that are necessary. Says the Gemara, no. That is needed for the din of Ula. The Amar Ula teaches Ula. Remez leidim zaymim in atayra minayit. Where do we have a remez? Where do we have a hint to Eidim Zaymim? Remez Eidim Zaymim. Says more, remez! What do you mean? It's an explicit pasuk, Vaksiv. Kasher Zamam. Says more, no, it's not what I meant. Ela remez Eidim Zaymim. That what? Shaloikin. That is going to be Malkis. Minayin. To that, says Gemara D'chsev, says the pasuk. V'tztiku as a tzadik, v'rshiu as a rasha, mishum v'tztiku as a tzadik, v'rshiu as a rasha, v'ayim ben agos a rasha, ale eidiv sheshiu as a tzadik, v'asu eidim achrini, v'tztiku as a tzadik, t'meikarav, shavinu l'anach rashayim, v'ayim ben agos a rasha. Therefore, there's going to be malchus. Says more way, v'teibu leim loy sanem, mishum navlei lav, she'in by maisa, cholav she'in by maisa, and like in a love. So the regular loy sanem will not allow for a malchus. Says the Gemara, it's only because we see from the pasuk v'tziguz esad v'yeshuas harasha, v'ayim ben hagos harasha. So says the Gemara, why is there malchus? It must be that when it says they, it's referring to the dayanim, not to the eidim, and that's the reason why in this scenario there will be malchus. We continue 14 lines to the bottom of the two dots. Mishum Rabbi Yishmael Omer Beser and Vishleisha. Rabbi Yishmael held. And how many dayanim, are necessary by Malchus? 23. My time with Rabbi Yishmael, where does he get this from? Amar Abaye, Asiyah Rasha Mechayve Misos, his Gzer Shava from Chayve Misos. Ksev Achavayim ben Hakos HaRasha. Ksev Asam Hashahu Rasha Lamaves Malahal. And when it comes to regular Chiyuve Misa, 10 lines to the bottom. The first line is Vishleisha, Eser Vishleisha. Avkan Beser Vishleisha. So it says Abaye, that's where we learn it from. Rav Amar, a different shot. Malchus b'Malka Misa Medis. That once Misa needs 23. So now Malchus is in that place. It's a form of death penalty, so you need 23 as well. Amar Ravacha, Brei Rav Ravashi Yachi. If that is true, Amdana Lamali. If that is true, why do we need an Umdan to see how many Malchus one can get? Lemchaye Vimei Lamas. If Malchus is a form of Misa, so who cares if the guy dies? It's a form of Misa already. So we know there's an Umdana we have to evaluate. Could he withstand X amount of Malchus? Why? Let it be Misa itself. Amar Le responds the Gemara. Responds Rav Ashi Kra. Says the pasuk, your brother Achicha should be lowered in your eyes. Ki michias. Why? Agaba dechaye machis. The reason being that from here we learn ki machis, when you hit someone, you give malchus agaba dechaye machis. You must give malchus to a live person, that it cannot be applied to a dead person. That's the reason why you have to evaluate how many malchus the person could withstand. Continues the Gemara, 3 lines to the bottom of that shul. Other than that, which learn in Raisa. If you could get 20, you don't give him 20, you give it divisible by 3. How many is that going to be? Tarti Yusri, that's going to end up being 18. Says the Gemara. Why? Give him 21. If he dies, he dies. Because when you give him the 21, you're giving 21 because at this point he's still considered a live person. If he subsequently dies, then we shouldn't be something we're necessarily concerned about. So why do we give less? Says the Gemara, Amar Le, Amar Kra, 3 lines on the top, Yudam and Be'ev, Nikla Achicha Leinecha, Acher Shalaka Achicha Be'ina Velek. It has to still be considered a live person after you hit him. So only could be that, which will be divisible by 3, and not the full-fledged Malchus. We continue 4 lines down as the Gemara quotes the next case in the Mishnah. Iber HaChaydesh is Veshleisha as well. Says the Gemara, Chishav like a tani. Kiddush like a tani. The Mishnah is not talking about the Chishav, the calculations. The Kiddush, the sanctification, is not talking about either. Ela Ibor, rather it's talking about the act of Ibor, the act of Bezdin declaring that this month is a leap month. Says the Gemara, Loile Kadsha, Omele Lahaber. Why do we need such a Bezdin? Just don't be Makadishin, and automatically the previous month will be extended. Amar Abaye Tini Kiddush HaChodesh v'Iber Hashana. No, excuse me. Amar Abaye Tini changed the Mishnah that what Kiddush HaChodesh means to be mekadesh it by 3, but doesn't actually mean to be ma'aber it. Tanami Hachi Abrayis Shirai Kiddush HaChodesh v'Iber Hashana b'Shleish Liver Amir Amar Rava v'Iber Katani. It says Iber. Amar Rava Kiddush b'Yoim Ivor b'Shleisha. Rather, it says Rava Kiddush b'Yoim Iber b'Shleisha. When the Rosh Chodesh on the 30th day, then you're going to be Kaddish it on the 30th day. Achar Ibor leka Kiddush. But after an Ibor, but if Rosh Chodesh is the day after, the day 31, then no Kiddush is necessary. Because automatically you know that that day is going to be Rosh Chodesh. Umani. And whose Shita are we going with? Says the Gemara about 14 lines down. The first one is Elazar. Elazar ben Sadik, Ditani Elazar ben Sadik, Oimer. Then in Mekanchin there's no longer an active Kiddush because we know automatically it's going to be Rosh Chodesh. Shevar Ketshua b'Shamayim because it's already considered Mekudash in heaven. Rav Nachman Amar comes in. Rav Nachman, he explains what is this whole din of Kiddush b'Shleisha Kiddush Achar Ibor b'Shleisha B'Yoim Ibor B'Yoim. Excuse me. Rav Nachman Kiddush Achar Ibor is b'Shleisha. B'yoim, but if Rosh Chodesh is on the day, on the 30th day, Ibor like a Kiddush, then no Kiddush is necessary. Umani, whose opinion is this? This is Plimai he, Tanya Plimai, Yomer teaches Plimai. Bizmanoi Mekachin Isai. Whereas Shaloi Bizmano, then yes, Mekachin Isai, then there is a din of Kiddush. And concludes the Gemara of Ashi Amar, a final shot from the Mishnah. Lo'ilom chishav katani. Really, Mishnah is talking about the calculations. My ibor chishav the ibor. Vaydi the kohen lemis the ibor shana tanenami ibor chaydesh. That's so. It's really talking about an act of chishav. Chishav chaydesh in kiddush chaydesh line. Who is this? Man Rav Lazi the Tanya. Shittas Rav Lazi that says Lazi Omer bein bizmana bein shaloi bizmana. Ein mekachin asay shnemer v'kidash tem. Ashtas chavish shana mata mekadesh. The third shita in explaining our Mishnah. And we continue, we're at the 2 dots towards the bottom of the Amid, the last quarter, last third I say, Rashbag Oimer Bishleisha. Says Rishim Gamliel that no, the creation of this leap month is only with 3. Tanya, Ketzad Oimer Rashbag Bishleisha Maschi Lenu B'chamisha Noisev Noistein V'goim Rim B'sheva. You begin with 3. You talk about the case with 5. And you conclude with 7. So continues the Bryce. If one Dayan says to sit and deliberate, and 2 Dayanim say not to, but the Yachad b'miyuta shnai. B'miyuta. The Yachad is but shnai. Let's sit down. We add on one extra person to get our best in a 3. We do not allow the one that didn't want to sit to sit. Shnayim v'noistin b'davar. Shnayim oimrim sricha u'shleicha. Shleisha oimer einay sricha. But l'shnayim b'miyutan. Whereas shleisha oimrim sricha u'shnayim oimrim einay sricha. Moisivan le'em oit shnayim. You add on 2 more. She'ina manyan b'chais misheva. So you need to have a minimum of 7. When it comes to the leap year, you're going to have no less than 7 dayanim. Stop over here. We'll pick it up from Hani Shleish to the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.